on to the next topic, which is going to be cryptocurrency. And so if you've been following the market, you know that it's been one heck of a roller coaster from, at least the last year. And so we're just going to continue following. So right now we're looking at different countries who are either going to be putting their foot down into cryptocurrency, or they're going to be trying to adopt cryptocurrency. Now we're going to first jump into who's going to be cracking down, and this is the latest news. The UK puts pretty much starts warning their citizens, hey, this is a very risky investment. This isn't an asset that they have any type of ownership in. And so for them, this is going to be where they're kind of pulling back. There are no rules, there's no regulations that the UK is able to implement, and therefore I believe they're going to be progressing towards a cryptocurrency of their own, and or adopting some that I'm not sure how many cryptocurrencies are being established or built into the UK, but why?
They'll make a CBDC. What'll happen is that we see with China, United States, many of the countries in Europe, is they make something called a CBDC, which is a central bank digital coin. And what it means is they use the blockchain technology, which I'm a fan of, but they don't just pick up a free floating coin that they have no control over. They basically allow the Federal Reserve to be a direct money supplier and be kind of like basically a central bank of its own, to be to allow to the distribution and creation of that coin using the same technology, the blockchain, to allow more accessibility. But the other flip side to that, and that's important, is that when you do that, you allow a government to play a bigger role in finance, meaning they bypass banks.
Less central, this is the other thing, less decentralized.
Right. Well, not even less. Yeah. So basically
bypass
less decentralized.
Banks. That sounds bigger.
Bypassing banks, what that means is, if the federal government can create currency. Okay, there's a reason we have central banks and we have things separated, right? The Federal Reserve, the central banks, the central government. One can create money, one can create laws, one can sell money, can create money and put liquidity into the market by buying assets from the central banks. And it is important that there's a separation of these first, because no one can just make and give money at the same time. It's not like an unlimited water fountain. When the government's able to create their coins, then you do business directly with the government. You don't need banks. You can just buy and sell and store and retrieve directly from the central government, which is a big government policy, which is something that I am also a little bit opposed to. There are some things I think the government should regulate, but I don't think that we should get rid of banks, because it does create competition. It does create the ability to get lower rates. It does give more liquidity in the market as a whole, and it doesn't depend on solely your government to control all of your currency directly. So that is an argument against the CBDCs. But I think in the end, that's the only way the digital currency is going to exist in most countries, is because governments need to control them so they can control them for financial and economic measurements. But then they have more control over them.
Oh, that's very interesting. Okay, so we'll definitely keep looking at UK to see what type of cryptocurrency they're going to come out with. But whenever there's a country that comes out saying that they're putting their foot down or they're supporting it, the fluctuation of Bitcoin takes a hit. And with a big country like UK, it being a world power and all, I imagine that Bitcoin was going to take a big hit. That was not the case. And so Bitcoin shrugs off UK crackdown on major crypto exchange Binance. Now, this Binance is just one of a few exchanges, but it is a pretty large one with, I believe, one of the greatest number of user growths over the last year. And yeah.
There's an article that I'm reading from MarketWatch. Says one of the largest owners of Bitcoin, who reportedly held as much as $1 billion of it, died at the age of 41.
Oh, snap.
So I wonder what happens to that $1 billion of Bitcoin.
That sounds like the government might acquire it. That'll definitely be something we could search more into, because the transfer of how Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies get transferred over all depends on how it's defined, correct? According to whether it's defined as an asset, a legal tender,
But here's the problem. If you die and no one knows your seed phrase, it's in a wallet, right? How the hell do you get to it?
Yeah.
That $1 billion could decrease from existence. It's like, well, there's money. And then to get in, they would say, well, we hacked into the Bitcoin wallet. Well, whose job is that? And if they do, I want to know who they are, because that's a big red flag. Because if they're like, yeah, listen, he died, but we wanted to give it away, so we hacked into it and got it back, that's when I'm going to be like, hold on. They did what now?
Well,
I don't know.
I imagine that anybody who has $1 billion worth of crypto is also using, financial advisors who potentially have access to his accounts, right?
I don't know. We'd have to.
I mean, hopefully, yeah.
And so from one country, let's go to another country. As people are putting their foot down, people are opening their doors. Now, big news is that Mexico, and this was everywhere, Mexico was saying that they want to create their first bank that accepts crypto. And this is being backed by one of their billionaires, Ricardo Plago. I probably totally butchered that name. And I believe he's a chair. He's a chair on the bank, or in the parent bank of them, and he's already a strong supporter of cryptocurrency. He's been saying that majority of your wealth, if you want to be able to keep it over the long term, you're going to want to transfer it over into Bitcoin. Now, unfortunately, the Bank of Mexico does not agree with him. They immediately said, no, we're not going to do this. It's first not considered a legal tender. That's one big step that the country itself would have to take in order to adopt it into the bank. And furthermore, if you watch one of our podcasts where we argued what it would take for banks to adopt Bitcoin as their legal tender, it's the financial institutions that have been set up already through the banks. There's way too much web integration for a complete transfer, or even starting to begin. So yeah, you can start talks of it, but to start saying that we're going to accept Bitcoin and we're going to also be able to issue Bitcoin, those are giant leaps, and it'll be interesting how they go about it. But the amazing
to issue Bitcoin, you have to own it. They'd have to buy a ton of it.
So he does own a ton of Bitcoin, and right. So I do see him being closer to making some big steps, unlike El Salvador, who's saying like, oh yeah, we're going to accept it, guys, bring all your stuff. Now he's already established within the crypto economy, and we could be seeing the first Mexican bank, crypto bank, popping up sooner than El Salvador. Who knows? I might just throw that out there. But
I definitely think if a Mexican crypto bank popped up in El Salvador, that would be odd.
That would be cool. I mean, changing their tender to crypto is the equivalent of taking the drugs from the cartel. They don't want the drugs to be legal. They still want to keep control of it. So that's why it's going to be a difficult transition for any country.
Now, with this news from Mexico, although the UK didn't affect Bitcoin, Mexico's news did, increasing Bitcoin by, I believe, I want to say 5 to 8%, bringing it past the threshold of that 35,000 that we were looking to hit the resistance. And so this could be the start of a momentum that other countries are going to build off of. If you're looking for Bitcoin to go any lower, you might have lost your chance. This might be the continuation of the bull run. It could dip down, but you got to know, big news like this compounds on itself within the crypto community. Everybody's looking to see who are the big players, how are they playing, and if more banks are talking about trying to adopt Bitcoin around the world, this is growing momentum, and so you can't sleep on Bitcoin. We've been saying this from the beginning. Take it as it is. It is high volatility, but this thing might be here to stay. And
China, you're missing out.
And back to China.
China's all about. China's very much into the blockchain. It's just that China wants their own coin, so they're very much into digital currency, but they're going to make their own. They're not going to allow a free floating anything. They're gonna make their own, and they're gonna. It's
gonna be run on a WeChat.
Monitor it, and then they're gonna know everything you buy, and they're gonna, there's gonna be like every data point. They're gonna know everything you do, when you do it, how you do it, how much you spend, when you spend it.
So this is
gonna know everything.
This is the other side of what blockchain technology can provide for a country. Although it can provide decentralization, it can maximize what centralization can be accomplished through a country that wants to pretty much own all data, all transactions. We're talking about China. They're a powerhouse right now, and they have a lot of technology behind them. To say that they're not going to be jumping into the crypto market, I think that's foolish. But I was also reading that China jumping out of this current crypto market could have cost them trillions in the removal of their Bitcoin miners and how they went about trying to regulate this crypto phenomenon.
Would you say it was too impulsive of them to jump out that abruptly?
You know, I don't think they cared. I don't think it. Yeah.
China was never profiting really on any of that activity. People were profiting in China, so China realized like we have to shut this down because we don't want everyone to own Bitcoin. We want everyone to have decentralized currency that they can get and send outside the borders. We can't regulate that. So you have to understand that the motivation, it's not impulsive to China, it's a threat to their sovereignty.
Yeah.
And that is never going to be tolerated.
It's the same way that the UK wanted to put their foot down just because, they have no regulations, they have no say on how the cryptocurrency is going to be utilized. And I mean, for the UK, we can't say that there's the same type of communism as China, but for them to be as concerned, they're definitely not. But for them to be concerned, that means you can kind of reflect this towards the same thought pattern that China was going to have, or was having, or already thinking into the future. They want to jump in,
Well, as I was saying before, those comments about the bank, that comes from a federal reserve chairman or banker that made those comments about, he brought up a lot of skepticism for a lot of the arguments for the United States creating a digital token that for their currency. That's where those arguments came from. Those arguments came from him, from the United States. So every country is in big debate about this, because this could be a huge disruption to the financial markets, but not necessarily in a good way, right? Because it would require massive changes to the way everything works. And as we know, when you have trillions and trillions of dollars being pinned under financial institutions and you change all that is a nightmare in and of itself. So, when you think about it, you don't just think about, the benefits and the upside. You have to think about, well, how hard is it going to be to actually do that, right? How hard is it actually going to be to actually implement those things? And so I think a lot of countries are skeptical both for their own digital currency, but then, of course, the inability to change it. Because if you allow a currency in your country that can't be controlled, it's a threat to your sovereignty in any country, because it's a lack of control within your country. You have effectively system of currency and an asset that you can't regulate and you can't technically see, and it's hard to tax. You can only tax the exit and entry points, but you can't really watch all that happening.
Yeah,
I can't imagine any country in the world, because even El Salvador, El Salvador is gonna. I have my theory that this is going to turn into a giant corruption scheme, and that it's not going to end well. But you have to have proper protocols for that. You really do, and I don't see. No offense to any South American countries, but they're not known for their security and their transparency and their lack of crime.
Yeah, so we have Paraguay. Paraguay is going to jump onto that list, and Panama is another one jumping onto this whole list of countries that are most likely in talks of cryptocurrency and how to utilize it in their economy. With China, this whole crackdown has dropped down mining by 21%. And this has in total affected the overall cost of gas fees, or what it costs to make transactions using Bitcoins. And so it's brought some highlights, and it's also brought some, openings in the market. But this is also during a time where as we thought Bitcoin was going to take a bigger hit from this, it hasn't. And it's interesting to see the momentum that's still continuing as Bitcoin is going through some of these hiccups.
Well, I was reading an article that said also is most countries that restrict Bitcoin on average, generally within 18 months, either release those restrictions or reverse them. So with that being said, I think many people are just kind of, again, if you're betting on the long term of Bitcoin, all of this is just noise. And for anyone that's a diehard believer in like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Dogecoin as an asset, not the blockchain technology, the coins themselves as currency and as an asset, you're going to be in this for the long term. I've seen articles where people say financial advice is just, buy your favorite asset and hold it forever. I think the Mexican billionaire for that bank, I think that was one of his exact words as well, was like, hey, if you want to make money, we're going to replace fixed income and we're going to give you an alternative investment. You pick the coin you like and you hold it forever because this is the future. And I always, when people say that, it makes me uncomfortable, because I'm like, you don't know that. Nobody knows that. This is the biggest conversation in finance, like in the world right now. So to say like just buy it and hold it, as a financial advisor to clients as replacements for things like fixed income. I just you really got to have a lot of extra money on hand and just be like, yeah, I'm going to move 20% of my portfolio into Bitcoin.
It's
capital.
big moves that would have to be made. Just to wrap up this whole crypto side, a lot of people have been asking about different crypto technologies and kind of what's out on the market. So I do want to start highlighting some cryptocurrencies that do catch my attention and something to look out for the future. One is going to be called Dfinity. Now, Dfinity is a blockchain singularity. They want to become the blockchain of internet. Guys, you're looking at potential Google. You're looking at potential, I want to say Yahoo. I think I said Yahoo, but this is just all about taking the internet and taking it to the next step. What is it going to look like to have your website being on a blockchain? How is it going to be able to scale up the internet? Is it going to make things faster? Is it going to make things more secure? This is one of those companies that they want to start pushing. They want to start pushing what it means to create a new type of internet. So we might be looking at Internet 2.0, Internet 3.0 coming out of companies like this. And so the reason they've made a big splash is that over the last, I want to say 48 hours, this stock has increased about 50%. Now it has dropped from 3 months ago, dramatically. When I bought in, I was well in. I believe I saw recently I was at like $100 when I bought in. And I was just like, where it dropped, and that's
loss.
Yeah. No, I lost. It dropped all the way down to $30, and it was riding around there. Now, this is one of those investments that I was seeing, you know what, this takes off in the long run. I'm willing to take this risk and hold on to it. Now, when I saw it drop so low, there's no way in the world I was going to sell, but it did increase 50%. Getting back up there and kissing the that $40, $45 mark. And so this is a company that when I was looking at it, I thought it was at a low price.
Less than a minute.
And so with that, go ahead and check out ISP. ISP is going to be one that, who knows? If they are going to be the next internet, you see how big Google is. That was kind of convincing me enough to jump into this one. And some quick other ones are going to be EOS, Stellar Lumens, and Tron. These are ones that have been building momentum. They are hitting their ceilings, and they are... Oh, it looks like we lost them. But just for the last part, we are hitting some resistance over here. What we're doing is EOS. EOS has a beautiful analytics where this one should be hitting $10 and it dropped down to $3. When it hit this value, I was looking at this one and just, licking my chops. I rode the first bump that happened over here right before the drop. And so if you're looking at EOS as a long-term bet, this is one that you might want to look into. Another one is going to be Stellar Lumens. Stellar Lumens has been consistent throughout this market. If we're looking at this, it started to build momentum again. Everything took a dip. And here you could see that it started building up. It met some resistance at the ceiling, dropped down, but it didn't drop down below its previous floor. And these are the things that you want to note, guys. You want to see that they're keeping their momentum. And this right here, this is what I call the market breathing. You're not looking at it just drop out. What you're doing is you're seeing it continue in its momentum, and these are the big jumps that we're looking for. Look at that green candle. That is unreal, and I don't believe this is going to be stopping. We're currently we were looking at some bear indicators. I'm waiting for further indicators to show us back on this bull market, but in no way do I think we're out of this bull market. And so Stellar, if you're looking at this, you're looking at it at 23 cents. It went up to 25 cents, hit resistance, and then it started breathing again. This is all natural stuff. What you want to see over the next coming weeks is it going on the sideways market again and hopefully potentially creating a head and shoulders. Head and shoulders can be good in Bitcoin. Head and shoulders usually start indicating a bigger increase or climb. And for the last one of the day is going to be Tron. Tron is one of those old technologies. Tron's been here from the old days, and And if we're looking at Tron, we're looking at Tron at still some low prices. If you have a low tolerance and you just feel like you want to throw in, $100, this thing's at 6 cents. Where Tron's been over the last year, it has built momentum, but look at this. This is a sideways market and it has just stayed. This is very reassuring for Tron. Tron was looking at potentially, Tron has been one of those that you always hear in the background. Tron is it's here to stay. Technology, I believe, is able to transfer transactions really quickly. And you know what? We'll probably cover Tron and what it has to offer in further episodes, but